You're listening to Release Your Resistance with Bex Beltran, episode 73. Welcome to Release Your Resistance. This is Bex. The only reason why any of us don't have what we want in life is because of our own resistance. Right now, I'm learning how to recognize and release my resistance, and this podcast tells you how you can release your resistance so that you can live the exact life that you want. Let's get started. Today's episode might seem a little out of character for me because if you follow me at all and if you know me, you know that I love my daily journaling practice. So why would I create a podcast episode all about how and why not to journal daily? Here's why. I'm a resistance coach. I help people recognize and release their resistance. And I know there is a lot of resistance to journaling daily. And rather than try to argue with anyone or try to push anyone against their resistance, let's just ride that resistance wave. Let's just notice what are the reasons why you or other people may not want to or may not be able to journal daily. And let's find some alternatives or other points of views or additional ways to think about journaling. I also want to acknowledge that I really don't think it's always resistance. Some of the reasons that people don't journal daily do represent resistance, and some of the reasons are a preference. Some of the reasons may be actual true reasons, not resistance, not to journal daily. I don't think every time we have a preference not to do something or decide that something isn't for us, that it's resistance. So if you are not interested in journaling daily, or if you have decided it's not for you, I am not classifying your decision as resistance at all. Instead, I'm agreeing that not everyone needs to like and do the same things. We don't all have to live our lives the same way. What works for me might not work for you, and what you love may not be my favorite. It's all perfect. Our differences weave into a beautiful tapestry. So let's talk about journaling differences. I want to bring up some common reasons that people don't journal daily, and then weave these in throughout all of the ideas and suggestions that I have for you today. Some of the common reasons that I've heard people give for not journaling daily are, I don't have time, I don't know what to write, I don't like writing, I want to journal daily, but then I forget, I don't like routines, so I don't want to set this as a routine for myself. I don't like or I cannot read my own handwriting, and I'm afraid someone will read my journal. So those are some of the common reasons that I've heard. Do you know of a reason why someone might not journal daily? Or if you haven't been journaling daily recently, is there another reason that I didn't just mention just now? Even with all of those reasons not to journal daily, I want to talk to you not about journaling daily, but about considering an alternate journaling method or practice for yourself. And I hesitate to even call it a practice because that does indicate or imply some kind of routine or an expectation. And really what I am trying to do here is remove any routine or expectation from the idea of journaling so that you can still get the benefits of journaling without what someone might consider the downside. So let's talk about the benefits of journaling. Why is it worth it to you to journal or to do some other writing practice? Here's why. With journaling, you get to see, if you write, in black and white, or if you're like me and use Flare Marcus, then in multiple colors, you get to see what you're thinking and remind yourself, even subconsciously, when you do see them, these are just thoughts. It takes a little bit of practice and intention to start to understand that what you have written or what you've recorded is a thought. Because your brain is telling you 100% of the time, this is the truth. This is how it is. This is what it is. But By writing thoughts down, it gives you the tiniest bit of separation so that you can notice, oh, I am thinking this, instead of continuing to believe this is the way it is. You can also recognize repetitiveness. This one is a surprise for me frequently. In fact, you might even notice some repetition in this episode because I'm treating this topic as if it is brand new for me. But in truth, this is like my 5th episode about journaling. So if I go back and compare all of the episodes that I've done about journaling, I am definitely going to see some repetition, even though I think I'm giving you this information right now for the first time. By writing things down, by recording them, by collecting your thoughts in a way that you can go back and look at them objectively afterwards, you actually can start to see some repetition that you may not even be aware of. Seeing that repetition gives you the option of considering it and analyzing it. If you are thinking the same thoughts over and over and over again without even realizing it, you can then have the option to consider, do I want to continue thinking those same thoughts? Because are those thoughts serving me? Are those thoughts benefiting me? Maybe they are. And if so, that is wonderful. Then you can double down on that repetition. Maybe, more likely though, especially if you're not aware of the thoughts that you're repetitively thinking, when you see your repetitive thoughts, with a little bit of objectivity, you can notice, wow, I think that a lot. I think it, I believe it, I repeat it to myself, I don't question it. When I do think about it, there are multiple times that I have thought that thought. And then you can ask yourself, is it helpful? Is it serving me? Do I want to believe it? Do I want to continue thinking it? Do I want to make it part of my belief system about myself or about the way the world is? Because maybe you don't. I don't know of a better way for you to see and recognize those repetitive patterns than by getting the thoughts out of your brain and into a medium where you can see them again. And the third benefit of journaling is very similar to the second benefit that I just mentioned about recognizing the repetitiveness, and it is noticing non-new thoughts. This happens to me all the time. I'll get an idea one morning and I'll be like, oh, this is a great idea. And I'll write it down or I'll think about it. And then later, as I'm rereading what I wrote a week ago, a month ago, a year ago, I'll read almost verbatim exactly the same idea. So here I was thinking this morning that I just had this new thought for the very first time. But because I am a frequent journaler, I am able to look back and notice this thought that I'm thinking today is actually not new. And that recognition and that awareness is very helpful because my brain is telling me that it is new. And then it turns out that I've thought this thought before. So then again, I have more awareness. So if I have thought this thought before and have not taken action on it, why not? Maybe there is some resistance there that I can uncover instead of continuously, like Groundhog Day, waking up and thinking a thought and thinking it's brand new. With awareness, I could do something about it. I could decide to take action on it. I could decide to develop that thought. I could do so many things now that I know it's not a new thought that I'm just now thinking for the first time today. So I've just given you some benefits of journaling. Writing things down lets you see and create a little bit of distance from your thoughts to give you some objectivity. And you get to recognize some repetitive patterns and you get to notice which of your thoughts are not new, even though your brain is telling you that those thoughts are new. But I do want to tell you about some possible downsides to journaling. I do think it is possible that you might not be doing it right, or it is possible to do it wrong. And this might be a little controversial. People might think there's no wrong way to journal, but I do think there are some practices in journaling that could actually be more harmful than helpful. One of those would be if you force yourself to journal frequently or every day or periodically, but then you just spend that journaling time just writing out a boring report of what happened yesterday. If you're writing, okay, so yesterday I went to work, I ate this for lunch, I saw that person, we had a good time, I was angry at work, and I went to bed, and that's my life. Okay, this is an accurate depiction of the facts that happened yesterday, but you're not really getting any of the benefits of journaling from that kind of writing, especially if you do that writing day in and day out, because you're not observing your thoughts, you're not digging in deeper, you're not getting curious. So my advice for that downside, if you find yourself just recording a boring report of what happened, mix it up. Get curious, dive in, ask yourself questions, interview yourself. Really use that daily report of activities to get deeper with what is going on, not just in your world, in your day-to-day activities, but inside your brain. What thoughts are creating those daily activities for you? How are you feeling about what you are thinking? See how answering those questions would make your journaling more interesting and more helpful? Another possible danger of journaling is if you sugarcoat beyond recognition. The first downside that I just mentioned was just doing that boring action summary. That's not interesting to read later. That's not helpful to read later. You'll probably see patterns, but it's just of your normal routine activities. You won't see the patterns of what you're thinking and how you're feeling. And at the opposite end of that, instead of a boring action report, is sugarcoating your actions. It could sound like, oh, I had a lovely day at work. Everyone was so friendly and so helpful, and I am just so excited about my future with this company. When none of that is really true, when you're really not thinking or believing that. I'm not sure why someone would write like that, maybe to make themselves feel better or to talk themselves into something that is actually not true. When you are sugarcoating things beyond all recognition, maybe it is an effort to not feel negative. Maybe the rationale is that if you write how you really think and feel, that sounds like complaining or it feels too negative and you don't want to be a downer and you don't want to have negative feelings about your real life. That is why it might seem like a good idea to sugarcoat, but really, I think fiction writing is fine. But if you are going to write fiction, go all in, right? Make it a really good fiction story. Add some drama, add some suspense, add a little thrill, but don't just turn your journaling into fiction writing. That's all rainbows and daisies because even though there might be good intentions, it's probably also not very interesting. Fictional journaling probably will turn out to be boring if it is just repetitive sugarcoating, and it also won't be very helpful. So hopefully I have made the case that there are some reasons why people wouldn't want to or can't or don't think that they can journal daily. And I am not advocating for journaling when you don't really want to or when you don't believe that you can. I am not trying to overcome any reason why you think you wouldn't or shouldn't journal daily. I am not about journaling daily if it is not for you. I don't want to argue or convince. If journaling daily is not for you, I get it. I am not trying to talk you into it. I do think there are so many benefits in journaling, and that's why I want to help you come up with alternatives or ways that you can still get the benefits and also ways for you to avoid maybe some of the more harmful or non-helpful ways that people might journal because they think they should or because they think they would like to get those benefits. If you're doing any of those quote-unquote what not to do's, you probably wouldn't get the benefits even if you do journal daily. So, what are your options? What are some ways that you could journal and get the benefits of journaling even if you don't want to or can't journal daily? One way I think you could do it is just have a journal, a blank journal, and then just journal when you need to. There's no expectation that you would have a set time or a set amount of time or a set number of pages to journal. You don't need to follow a template and include some similar information with every journal entry. Just journal when it pops into your mind and when you need it. Basically, allow your intuition to suggest journaling as an activity and then follow that intuitive nudge and do it. The more that you answer that intuitive nudge, hopefully, the stronger you will trust it. and you will see those benefits, even if they are sporadic, even if it is a year between journaling sessions. At least go ahead and journal when you think about it, when you're feeling it. Do it then, when there's no resistance to it, and don't make any gap in between mean anything. If you are open to a little bit of routine, but not down with the whole daily situation, another way would be to journal periodically. For example, you could journal weekly, monthly, or annually. I do have periodic journaling practices that I have incorporated into my daily practice, and I really, really like them. In fact, these aren't really like traditional journaling. They're more of making bulleted lists and answering questions. So these styles of journaling do not include a lot of free-form writing. So these might help with some of the reasons people don't journal, like I don't know what to write about or I don't like to write. So here's my weekly journaling practice. Every Saturday, I like to collect information about what happened in the past. I consider it my weekly evaluation about what happened from the week before and what's going into the next week. I do mine in 3 parts: what worked, what didn't work, and what I will continue or start doing next week. And you could also do it as a start, stop, and continue list. Another kind of periodic journaling practice is to have a monthly interview with yourself. I talked about this at the end of last year. I really loved doing a monthly interview with myself every month of 2020, and then being able to go back in December and read all those months all in succession so that I could really see how things flowed and changed and what I did over the entire year without having to read 365 individual days of journal entries. I was able to read 12 monthly interviews and get a nice high-level overview of my entire year, almost at a glance. I read some nice memories, I got reminded of things, I saw some patterns, I saw growth and development. I recognized things that were very important a few months ago that are now no longer important at all. It was a great way to close out the year. And if weekly and monthly journaling practices are still just a little too routine for you, you know that I love my yearly practice of creating a birthday list. Actually, birthday lists, plural. I do have an episode explaining how and why to create a birthday list. And basically, once a year, write down everything that you've created since your last birthday, and then make a second list of everything that you hope to do and achieve and create before your next birthday. So that's just a once-a-year check-in. There's a lot of value in that. Even if you just journal once a year on your birthday, over the years, you will really get to appreciate seeing what you wrote year after year. Another way to journal without a routine would be to journal when you have a question or a problem that you're trying to solve. I definitely believe that the answers you seek are inside of you. So what better way to get great answers to your problems or questions than by sitting down with a piece of paper or a notebook or maybe a guided or prompted journal and ask and answer yourself. You will be amazed at what you come up with. And then it will be so much fun for you to go back a month from now, 6 months from now, a year from now, and read it. First of all, to find out, how did the problem get resolved? Was it what you thought in your journaling, or was it a totally different way that you didn't come up with? And then secondly, to notice that the thing that was a problem 6 months ago, a year ago, is it still a problem in your life? If not, that's great to know that problems that are such a big deal eventually are no longer a big deal at all. Or if it is still a big deal in your life today, maybe you have a fresh perspective now. Maybe now going back, you can see some repetition or a pattern. And just seeing that with objectivity helps you notice and break out of it. There are a lot of benefits of writing about problems and asking yourself to come up with the solutions to those problems. You might be surprised at how well you can solve or deal with or maybe even compartmentalize what you are going through. And if you want to journal when you have something specific going on for you, I have created 2 journals that might be perfect for you. One of them is an emotions journal. It's called Feel the Feels, and it's bright yellow, and you can use it specifically when you notice that you are feeling some way. This journal guides you to focus on that feeling and then asks follow-up questions for you to really see what you're feeling and what you're thinking. And if you notice yourself feeling anxiety or stress, you could use one of the anxiety exercise books to work through what's going on for you. There's a worksheet for you to notice how you're doing and to track your mood throughout the day. You can also make a note of what triggers you and what coping skills work best for you. Plus, there is space for coloring and doodling and some freeform writing too. So we have covered so much today already. We've talked about sporadic and periodic journaling, and now you have some ideas of how you can journal weekly, monthly, and annually. And if you're like me and you already do journal daily, these periodic journal exercises are a great addition to a daily journaling practice. I do each of them, and I highly recommend them, and I'm sure they can stand on their own too. Since I wrap them into my regular journaling, I don't use a separate journal for the weekly evaluation or for the monthly interview, but I do have a special birthday lists notebook that I am now using for those annual lists. And I have created a monthly interview journal for you in case you do want to do that as a standalone practice. It should be available sometime in June, so check my shop frequently to find this gorgeous purple and pink floral notebook that prompts you to have a monthly interview with yourself. And I have linked all the journals that I've mentioned in this post for this episode at bexb.org/not daily, as in you don't have to journal daily, not daily. What I haven't covered yet, and I think now I'll save for a later episode if you're interested and if you have questions, is what to do about some of those other common reasons I mentioned earlier, like meaning to journal and then forgetting, or not having the time, or not liking your handwriting, or being afraid someone might read your journal. And hey, maybe you don't even need another episode. Maybe you can find the answer to these questions for yourself. And there are a lot of ways to deal with those reasons for not journaling, and maybe you have other reasons not to journal daily that you would like addressed in a future episode. So let me know if you have other ideas or any resistance or questions that came up as you listened to today's suggestions. I want to hear what you think about all of this. So leave me a comment on the show notes for this episode at bexb.org/not daily, NOTDAILY, or send me an email at hi@bexb.org. Also, since today's episode is all about journaling and all the different types of journals you could use, it is the perfect time to mention the notebook newsletter that is coming out in the first week of June. So that's next week already. Every month, I send out an email with some helpful information about journaling. So that's one email a month. You can get information about journaling or note-taking or list-making, plus a quick video of some of the new arrivals in the journal shop. And I'm also sharing the best review from the previous month and how you can receive a gift of a journal of your choice from me. So make sure you are subscribed to that once-a-month newsletter. You will get an immediate email with 52 journal prompts. So that's another solution to the problem of not knowing what to write about. And notice how there were 52, like there are 52 weeks in a year. See, I'm promoting weekly journaling. So yes, you'll get the welcome email first with the video of me showing you May's journals. And then next week, you'll get the June edition. And you do not want to miss it. So just go to bexb.org/shop journals. SHOPJOURNALS, and scroll all the way to the bottom of the page, and that's where you will see the email sign up. Thank you for listening today. I hope you enjoyed hearing about other ways to journal that are not daily. Thank you again, and I will talk with you next week. This has been Release Your Resistance. Thank you for listening. If you like this podcast, make sure you're subscribed and leave a review on Apple Podcasts. Also, think about someone who you know who would love this episode and share it with them. There should be a share button on your app if you're listening to this on your phone. If you'd like to continue this conversation one-on-one or in real time, come visit me on my site at bexb.org to see how we can work together.